Hello and welcome to Hope After. This podcast is for couples navigating the impact of pornography on their marriage. And today we're stepping into a new stage. Up until now, we've been doing what you have to do first, slowing the chaos, putting some boundaries around the bleeding and building enough structure so that you can breathe again. Now, stage 3 is different, not because we're dragging you back into pain, but because we're finally naming the deeper wound, the one that sits underneath the symptoms. If you found yourself asking, why does this still hurt so much? Or why do I feel okay one moment and undone the next? Or even, why can't I just move on, especially if he's trying? I want you to hear this before we go any further. What you're experiencing doesn't mean you're broken. It doesn't mean you're weak. And it doesn't mean you're failing at healing. In many cases, it means you're having a normal response to a real injury. If, as you listen, you realise you need more than a podcast can offer, we can help walk through this stage slowly and safely with you. We offer one-to-one guidance, or both of us can work with both of you. All the details are in the show notes. For now, let's talk about betrayal trauma and why understanding it changes everything. So many women reach this stage irritated with themselves, and that irritation can start to feel like a second injury. You've already cried, you've already talked, you've already replayed it 1,000 times, and you can explain what happened intellectually, and yet your body still reacts as though it's happening now. And what makes it worse is that over time, frustration often turns into shame. Not always because anyone has said the word shame out loud, but because you begin to interpret your own pain as a failure of character. You start watching yourself like a problem. You question your reactions, your thoughts, your ability to cope, even your ability to be a good Christian wife. So I want to slow everything down and offer you a different frame. What you're experiencing, it has a name, and that name matters. It's called betrayal trauma. And when you can name it, you stop treating yourself as the problem. You begin to see your reactions as a nervous system trying to keep you safe. Betrayal trauma happens when the person you rely on for truth, safety, attachment, and protection has become the source of harm. That's why this isn't just about being upset. It's not ordinary disappointment, and it's not sensitivity, and it's not insecurity. It's the shaking of the very place you were meant to be held. Your nervous system is designed to assume that the person closest to you will not endanger you, not that the marriage will be perfect, but that it will be honest. That the life you're building together is shared reality, not parallel worlds. When that assumption collapses, your body doesn't respond with a neat emotion and a tidy timeline. It responds with survival. Survival can look like scanning. It can look like sleeplessness. It can look like intrusive thoughts and sudden waves of grief that arrive uninvited. It can look like panic or numbness or rage that surprises you because it seems too big for the moment. But it isn't too big for the injury, and that's the point. Your body isn't being dramatic. It's responding to rupture. And that response isn't a character flaw. It's a protective system trying to prevent the next shock. Porn betrayal often wounds women in multiple layers at once. It hits attachment. Can I actually trust you? It hits exclusivity. Am I chosen or am I simply present? And it hits identity. Who am I to you, really? It also hits sexuality. Is intimacy safe here? Or is it now something I must compete for, perform for, or fear? That's why women so often say, I don't know who he is anymore, or I don't know what was real. It's disorientation. It's like the internal map you were using to navigate your marriage has been shaken, and now you're trying to find solid ground again. And when reality feels uncertain, your nervous system searches. It searches through questioning, replaying, analysing, checking, scanning, not because you want to become obsessive, but because the body is desperate to restore certainty. It's trying to rebuild a world where you can rest. This is where men often get stuck and where women often feel unseen. So Jez is going to speak briefly here because it helps men to hear it from a man. So Jez, can you explain why this still feels like betrayal even without physical touch?
Well, yeah, I think one of the biggest things is the secrecy, because that breaks trust. It can create a private world, something that you wouldn't consent to. Even if I hadn't met anyone, it still damaged safety.
Yeah.
And not to forget, it's the secrecy that breaks safety, not just physical touch.
Yeah, the trauma, it isn't measured by physical proximity. It's measured by what happened to safety, trust, and shared reality. Pornography so often involves secrecy, deception, divided sexual attention, and a private world that the wife didn't consent to. And the wife's nervous system can feel like a breach of exclusivity, a breach of safety, regardless of whether another person was physically present. And that's why logic alone doesn't settle it. You can explain it perfectly, but your wife's body is still going to react because your body isn't asking for the right explanation. It's asking one question: am I safe now? And safety isn't proven through a speech, it's proven through consistency over time. There came a point for me where I felt embarrassed by my reactions because I could tell myself all the right things. I knew Jez was trying. I knew porn wasn't about me. I wanted healing. I believed God restores, but my body didn't seem interested in my logic. I would be fine one moment and then something would tighten in my chest without warning. A scene on television, a woman in public, an advert that didn't bother me before, a sound or a look, or even a certain type of image on a screen, and suddenly my nervous system reacted as though danger had just arrived. And after that, everything began to feel sexualized. Not because I became judgmental, but because my nervous system started scanning for threat. It was as though something in me said, we missed it once, we're not missing it again. I remember thinking, why can't I be normal again? Why can't I just stop feeling like this? And what I didn't understand yet was that my body wasn't betraying me. It was trying to protect me. So let me describe some common trauma responses, not so you can label yourself, but so you can stop being frightened of your own reactions. For some women, the mind gets stuck on replay. Thoughts return when you don't want them. Images come back uninvited. You can feel as though your brain is punishing you when really it's trying to make sense of what happened. For others, it's hypervigilance, scanning tone, timing, devices, patterns. The body stays on alert because it can't yet assume safety. Some women experience waves of rage that feel sudden or panic that arrives without warning. Others experience numbness, that strange flat detachment, and then later the crash comes when the body finally stops holding itself together. Sexuality often becomes complicated. Desire can disappear because safety is missing, or just as commonly, women feel pressure to perform because fear has hijacked intimacy. Comparison becomes brutal. Body shame rises. You begin measuring yourself against the images you never agreed to compete with. Sleep can be disrupted. Appetite can change. Even in a quiet room, you may feel internally braced. And if you recognize yourself in any of this, please hear me. These are not signs that you're unstable. These are signs that your nervous system is trying to keep you safe. Trauma does not live only in the mind, it lives in the body. And until your body begins to believe that safety is consistent, it will keep trying to protect you, sometimes in ways that feel confusing. Many women try to reason their way into healing. You tell yourself the truths you know are true. You repeat the theology you believe. You correct the lies. You try to renew your mind. And then you feel furious because your body doesn't follow. But trauma healing isn't primarily cognitive. Your nervous system keeps returning to one question: am I safe now? And that question isn't answered by reassurance alone. It's answered by honesty over time, accountability, structure, boundaries, and consistency. When I say, am I safe now? What I mean is, am I going to get hurt again? Is he going to do it again? Am I going to see those images again? Am I going to feel like this again? That's what am I safe now means. This is why stage 2 mattered. It wasn't busy work. It wasn't you being difficult. It wasn't your body being given evidence of safety outside of promises. As safety becomes consistent, your nervous system slowly stands down, not instantly or neatly, but it will genuinely do it. There is a lie trauma tries to plant in women, and it often sounds convincing because it hooks into fear. It whispers that this happened because you weren't enough, you weren't attractive enough, or you weren't available or sexy enough. Maybe if you'd been less tired or less postpartum or less stressed or less human. But porn does not happen because a wife is lacking. Porn is not a substitute for a wife. It is so often a substitute for coping or escape, entitlement, and avoidance. You did not lose a competition. You were injured by secrecy, by divided attention, and by a private world you didn't consent to. And I want to say this tenderly, your worth was never the issue. The issue was hiddenness. Now, Jez will speak very briefly here because men need to hear this without defensiveness. Jez, what would you want men to understand about a wife's reactions after betrayal?
Well, I really believe that she's just trying to feel safe again. And explaining more doesn't fix it. This all takes time to settle.
It does take time to settle. And if you're listening as a man, understanding betrayal trauma is not about drowning in shame, and it's not about branding yourself forever. It's about understanding the impact so you can become steady. Your wife's reactions are not there to punish you. They are evidence that something deep was injured. And what helps is not defensiveness, not better explanations, and not pressure to move on. What helps is steadiness. And over time, as safety replaces secrecy, her nervous system will stand down. Your role is not to rush that. Your role is to support it consistently, even when it's uncomfortable. Now, if this episode has helped you feel seen or relieved or simply less alone, I want you to know something important. The podcast helps you to understand a little bit about betrayal trauma, but we can help you work through this safely and slowly without overwhelm and without re-traumatizing yourself. Now, in stage 3, women receive paced, trauma-aware guidance, gentle reflection that protects you from spiraling, help separating injury from identity, and support for rebuilding safety without rushing because someone else feels uncomfortable. If you prefer that personal support, we can do that one-to-one, or both of us can work with both of you. There's no pressure and no urgency. You'll find details in the show notes whenever you're ready. If you take nothing else from this episode, just take this. You're not crazy for still hurting. You're not weak for being triggered. And you're not failing because your body hasn't caught up yet. You're responding normally to an abnormal injury. So be gentle with yourself. Your pain has a name. Your reactions make sense, and healing is possible. Not through rushing, not through denial, but through steady safety over time. In the next episode, we're going to speak directly to men about why porn can feel like an affair to their wives, even without the physical touch, and what real repair requires. for now. Let your body breathe. You do not have to force yourself to be okay in order to be faithful, and you don't have to hurry your healing to make someone else comfortable.